G'day everyone, welcome to PBHQ Live. This is episode number 356, July 31st. I'm Dwayne Nichols. We've got heaps to talk about tonight. Paintball events all over the country over the weekend just gone, but not so many events coming up over the next couple of weeks. If you keep an eye over on the upcoming events, it's sort of thinning out a bit through August, which is a great time of year to play typically. If you are joining in, let me know who you are and where you are. You can shout out your team name or the events that you played over the weekend, or if you're out at training. We actually had a decent turnout at training in Wagga for the first time in years, quite literally years. We had 10 players out to training. It's been a long time post-COVID getting everyone back out. Alex from the Golden Dragon OG boys, which is one of the longest team names, and I'm going to explain why that team name is as it is later in the show. So thank you for joining in. Wade from the Wicked Assassins and Wicked Warriors is in. Estevan also from the Wicked Warriors is in. So thank you for joining in. And tonight, I'm not sure why, but my iPad's just not playing the game. So I'm reading the comments from YouTube directly, which has always seemed to load slower than if I also watch the show on an iPad. So hopefully I can keep up with the chat, and if you're dropping comments, I'll try to shout out and have a bit of a conversation as we go through the show, but it might not be as fluid as what I'm used to. And I put up a post sharing the show a little bit ago, and you can also share the show, of course, asking if anyone has the cricket on their TV whilst you're watching this, or if you have the soccer and something particularly interesting happens, drop it in the chat too, because I want to follow along whilst I'm doing this. Obviously paintball's number one, but I've got those other things that I'm interested in too. Paintballshop.com, major sponsor of the show, and a quick mention for those guys. They've got this HK tactical gear in, so you might have seen some of this stuff advertised recently. The HK are getting into, and they've been pushing it quite hard this week, into the airsoft scene with I think it's called the NSL, which is like the Nations Cup essentially of airsoft, or Speedsoft was on, Speed QB, whatever it gets called now. I really don't follow it closely enough to know. I do know that there was an Australian team over there featuring some players who have a bit of experience in paintball. But HK, they've been over there in Amsterdam in Europe for the event, and they've been showing off a bit of this gear. So if you're into that type of thing, if you're looking to pick up some of that gear, or if you just want some black decked out gear to play paintball in, I think the tactical jersey and the joggers would translate across pretty well for paintball if you're looking for that type of stuff. So yeah, check it out over at paintballshop.com. It wasn't up on the website when I looked earlier today, but I imagine it'll be up there. If it's not already, it won't be too far away for anyone who is interested in picking up some of that new HK tactical gear. I see that John O'Collins and Jordan Bradshaw are in. And yeah, so for people like Jono and Alex who are in the events that you played over the weekend, I think Jono was out at the MJ Memorial Cup. Alex was obviously playing in the Super Sevens in Malaysia, which is actually a genuine 7-man, not to be confused with the Super Sevens that happens here in Australia, and is a 5-man with 7-man rosters per match. Gladiator, also a major sponsor of the show. Great weekend for Gladiator teams here. 3 first places from 3 teams competing. STK in WA extended their NXL WA winning streak. I do need to check in at some point with Timmy Colgan on exactly how long this is, but it's quite the impressive streak that the boys have been on, and they just continue to win. The Eskimo brothers in the Mark Jeffries Memorial Cup, they also got a win and have made a habit of winning recently. And the Wicked Assassins played in Division 2 at that same event, and those guys got themselves first place. So shout out to Gladiator and all of their teams, just winning events, just going nuts at the moment. So let's get back to a picture of me. I just got a text message from a mate who I think 1-0 Australia in the soccer. Is anyone following along? I don't. The mate that sent it to me is quite a good mate. but also a 10 out of 10 shit stirrer, and I imagine that he's just G'ing me up. So someone can clue me up on that. Alex saying 7-man is so much fun, was a great field layout. James Rich also joining in at the moment. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, so let's get into the results from the event. Obviously, you know who's winning them because I've already mentioned it. They're all Gladiator teams. And Timmy's saying, I'm not sure. I think the last loss was 2014 or 15 to Gridlock. So we're coming up on 10 years. You know, since the guys last lost an event at home in WA. They've obviously played out here at the Super Sevens on the East Coast. They've played throughout Asia and not always won the events. But that is some stretch over there in WA. We should put together, and I don't know if anyone of the ilk that would be required is watching at the moment, but maybe an all-star team needs to get assembled to go over there, see if they can rattle the cage a little bit. That might be interesting conversation for another time, and I'm sure, knowing the boys from STK, they'd be keen as to have that happen as well. So the Mark Jeffrey Memorial Cup was held at Hartley Valley Paintball out at Lithgow, just west of Sydney, on their new synthetic turf field. This is a photo of the Eskimo Brothers by Core. The Eskimo Brothers were the winners of this event in Division 1. Black Flag second, third place went to Raw. So a couple of photos have been uploaded from Core so far. You can check those out over on her page. The cool thing about this event was it was your old school center flag, play from both ends, point scoring type of event. It wasn't like a race to or a mercy event that we are most common with these days. You got points for first flag pull, for the bodies you eliminate. You got points for the eventual flag hang. Yeah, really cool to see something like that happen. We don't see a lot of center flag paintball anymore, and I don't think we should see a lot of it, but it is cool to see on occasion. I'm all for that. So that is good. And what did I see? And Timmy saying, fly the Eskimos over there. That's as all-star as it gets. Yeah. And Alex saying the blue field is cool but trippy. Yeah, I definitely like the Eskimo Brothers need any advantage. Finding their blue jerseys amongst that blue field, yeah, would have been tough. John O'Collins saying it was a fun event. And I spoke with Grace, so they've got the field to where it's at the moment. But the work won't be stopping there. Elmo did a couple of live stream videos across the weekend and explained a little bit about that too. I managed to catch one today, watching it back. I didn't see it at the time. But there is more work to be done. The pits will be moving. The field will be extended and bigger again. It's currently 50 meters long, which is a little bit longer than a standard field, but only 25 meters wide, which is probably about 10 or 11 meters more narrow. For anyone who's played here at Wagga, my field's about 28 or 29 meters wide. So, yeah, to give you an idea, and my field's narrow too, obviously. So it was quite narrow, but Grace said the teams all loved it. It looked like it was a fast-paced event from the little bit that I seen on some of Elmo's live streams. That's what we like to see. People getting out and supporting a good event. And hopefully, like I mentioned on this show last week, the MJ Memorial Cup becomes something that happens each and every year and becomes something on the calendar that people look forward to get out and play. And in Division 2, the Wicked Assassins got the win, guest starring Michael Wairu in what he said was his first Division 2 event ever. So obviously back when Jerusalem played Bethlehem, I think Mike was snake corner for one of those teams. I can't remember which, but there was only one division back then. So obviously he couldn't play in Division 2, but now that he's aging a little bit, he's found his way back in Division 2, and I imagine Division 3 is on the horizons, and he'll just fade off into the sunset through AMS again, or Novice perhaps. But yeah, shout out to the Wicked Assassins on getting themselves first place. Top Hat Jokers second, and yeah, the boys third. The teams that I seen playing in that event, there was a few experienced faces in the Division 2, and then a lot of new guys that have been playing paintball for less than a year. That's exciting. That's what we need to see more of. New players out at events playing as much as they can. So congratulations again to the Wicked Assassins. If we jump, Jono's saying Australia just scored, and Brad Short saying center flag promotes a charge for the middle. And yeah, if you do watch those videos, some of those, there was a one that Elmo did where Eskimos were up against Black Flag, so the eventual top two teams, and it was essentially a race almost every point between Johnny Robber and Callum, I think it was, to see who could get there first. The center bunker was getting knocked over. It was just, yeah, hectic. So it made it exciting, though, and it gives it a focal point. Everyone knows where to look at the start of the match because that initial flag pull is so crucial. So, yeah, interesting stuff. If we jump out to NXL in the WA, I've used plenty of photos of STK in the past, but this time around, got a photo of the boys from Menace who got second. STK obviously getting the win as previously mentioned, and STK Entourage getting third this time. They've made the move from Division 2 into Division 1 this year. And I'm told from Timmy, spoke with him yesterday, he said that all of the games were super close. Even Plague, who got fourth in Division 1, I think they were one game away from potentially being in the final for first and second. So it was everyone's taking points off of everyone, close competition. But that's how it washed up in the end. SDK with the win, 2-0 win over Menace and Entourage third. And then the two teams in Division 2, Nomads and Lunatics, finished as in that order. And Lunatics, Timmy said, had at least 3 brand new players. So that's cool to see. Kayla made mention of it. The photographer here, Kayla Wooden, made mention. Timmy has obviously made mention, and I've been talking about it on the show. Their new bunkers had arrived. They had a fresh field layout. And if you've been dealing with old bunkers and then you get a new bunker set, it's some different level of appreciation. And Timmy actually pointed out something that I'm not sure I've mentioned here on the show. The bunkers have been upgraded. The material feels a little more heavy duty. The bunkers where you actually inflate them, that's all reinforced. The tie downs are reinforced. There's Velcro on the flap that covers the bunker plug. So just everything, they've put a little bit of thought into something that's pretty simple, and just those little improvements have made them much, much better. Thomas saying center flag is kind of like the ball for viewers. I wouldn't be, no, absolutely. So other sports, that is one of their key things that makes watching other sports, whether it's soccer, whether it's cricket, footy, doesn't matter. If there's a ball, that is the focal point. That's what you watch for. That is one thing that paintball does struggle with. At times, paintball has, in a 5v5, you could have 5 different games essentially going on at once between guys shooting at particular guys or shooting lanes or whatever the case might be. It's really difficult as a broadcaster to explain what's going on to people who aren't paintball players. So yes, I do get that. And Lachlan saying Entourage have been literally everywhere this year. Absolutely. They've played in WA, in Malaysia, in Thailand, and Singapore, I believe. Pretty impressive for those guys to do so much travel in any given year. And we're only in July. It's August tomorrow. So massive, massive effort for them to play that many events, particularly at a time when events are getting cancelled and postponed and all sorts of things because people are a bit tied up with money this year. So yeah, massive, massive effort. Can't believe it. NXL in Queensland also happened this weekend. The Top Hat Jokers got the win. And you might be thinking, didn't I just mention the Top Hat Jokers as playing in Division 2 at the MJ Memorial Cup? Well, yes, I did. They had teams at both events. So up in Queensland, they got the win, undefeated for the whole weekend, Bluey tells me. And then, yeah, their team in Division 2 down in Lithgow got second place. Second was, I don't know how I would pronounce it, Blungers. Maybe it was a mix between Blade and Mungers. And then Raw got third place. So the photo of this breakout of Top Hat Jokers, they had 4 players. There was a couple of teams who ended up down a player. So if you were playing against the team that had 4, you had to field 4. If the teams who had 5 came up against one another, well, they played with 5, which is, good to see that they everyone works in together. The one thing that I have noticed about these events in Townsville is that the social aspect is really pushed hard by Wertho and the guys up there. All the players are catching up for dinner and getting together the night before. and the Saturday night of the event, they're doing that too. They played their prelims Saturday, played some finals Sunday morning. Yeah, like I say, the social aspect of everything just looks like the real standout there. Wertho also mentioned that Dave Walters from Raw actually ended up hurt and had to go to the hospital. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find my message real quick from Wertho, what he said he hurt. He ended up in hospital with a knee injury. So hopefully Dave's okay. And that's not something that keeps him out of the game for a long time, because we don't like to see anybody get hurt playing paintball. Much less, like, you know, there's hurt and injured. Hurt, you can, might be able to play on or might not be able to play that day, but going to the hospital, well, you're injured at that point, and yeah, hopefully it's not a big deal and Dave can get back on the field soon. We have to also talk about, that was the events here in Australia. So the MJ Memorial, the NXL WA and the NXL Queensland. Congratulations to everyone who found themselves on the podium from that one. Oh, and in the NXL Queensland, because their prize money, their format, the way things worked out, teams were winning decent amounts of money up there. I think it was like $750 for the winners, $500 for second place. At a low paint usage event with not too many games, that's pretty good money. Again, when a lot of events aren't even happening, to have prize money off the back of playing your event is a good thing. And then over in Malaysia at the Nemesis Legion Paintball Academy, so Nemesis Legion, one of the most renowned and well-known teams in Asia as a whole, this was their venue. The Golden Dragon OG Boys, which is a combination of Golden Dragon and OG Boys, got together as a team to play 7-man. This photo from Axe Media of a 7-man breakout. Great photo. I really like this high-angle stuff. They got the win. Nemesis got second, and the Beeswaxes got third. Don't know a great deal about the event. Alex did send me a couple of photos, mentioned that the guys won. I know that the Golden Dragons came up against Duckside, who eventually finished fourth in the semi-finals, and it came down to 1v1s. So that's always exciting for the people in attendance when the tournament comes down to 1v1s at any point, but in particular in the semi-finals to get into the finals. So that's massive. And Lachlan saying that the OG Dragons took on 3 of Asia's top teams. Yeah, well, Nemesis, for anyone, and if Timmy Colgan's still around, he might be able to let me know. Nemesis are one of those teams that are super strong, and they're regularly winning events, as are Duckside. And I think Nemesis have, against STK, have crossed paths a few times, and they've probably shared a few victories both ways. Nemesis, going back a few years, were routinely winning most events that they were entered in, at least the ones that I was mentioning here on the show. So really solid team. And yeah, it's a massive effort for those guys from the, let me read their name back to you one more time, the Golden Dragon OG Boys, to get the win at that event. Looks like another great synthetic turf field there too. Really excited to see that. Just about, well, not all events, but a fair chunk of events that I'm talking about now, we're playing on synthetic turf. I know other fields also, like Dubbo, here in New South Wales, and like the field out in WA for the NXL, have synthetic turf, which is being prepared to be laid or organised to be laid. So even more events will be going to synthetic turf in the near future. Alex is saying that's a brand new turf field apparently, and Nemesis have always been strong, according to Timmy Colgan. And yeah, like I say, I don't know any of the guys from the team, but I've covered enough events from Asia and seen them on podiums, mentioning it here on the show, enough to know that, yeah, they're a really solid team, and they're regularly featuring on podiums in Asian events. Some birthdays to mention, and there's not too many. I wish that Chris Grosvenor was taking paintball photos more often. This was a photo from a couple of years ago of Simon Wong, whose birthday's in a couple of days. And Chris Grosvenor took some of the best photos down in Victoria going back a couple of years. Brian, Shane, also from Victoria, Bailey, all celebrating birthdays this week. A bit light on for birthdays. And Broderick just saying, solid effort from to Callum from Black Flag for his $500 MVP at Hartley. I didn't realize. So, yeah, I remember saying that there was a $500 MVP prize, but yeah, so Callum got the win on that. And that was voted on by the refs, I believe. At least that's what I feel like I mentioned last week on the show. And Timmy saying that Nemesis have also really held great events. So yeah, I mean, they're the types of teams. It's much like STK to Perth. If that's your area and you're the established team and you're helping new players come through and training them up, if you're hosting events, man, we could all do with more teams just like that in the paintball scene. Yeah, $500 to Callum for Black Flag playing at Hartley. He might join a very small crew of people, and I'd have to check in with him, who have left a paintball event with more money in their pocket than when they arrived. There's a $500 prize on I imagine was a pretty low paint bill event at the MJ Memorial Cup. He may just have got away with earning money at a paintball event, which, yeah, we're talking 1% of paintballers could even ever have laid claim to at best. I know some of the Eskimo Brothers or Envious Crew have done that. I know that I held a little two-man tournament here on a rec ball field a couple of years ago. A couple of the guys here locally did. But yeah, very rare stuff to leave a paintball event with more money than what you started. What else do I have to mention? Yeah, it's the last day possible to join if you want to enter for the 2 Anthrax backpacks that I'll be drawing next week on the show. Yeah, that's right. Jordan Bradshaw mentioning the true meaning of a pro. Yes, you do need to get paid if you want to be a professional. That's why I've always advocated for events being called Division 1 and Division 2 rather than pro and semi-pro, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, a couple more prizes to wrap up the year, and then a couple of big ones that aren't too far away if you've been signed up for the whole year. And speaking of Anthrax, the backpacks, when I'm giving them away next week on the show, I will also be showing, I may even show beforehand, Asylum, my local team, the team that I essentially started along with a few other people. We are coming up in November on 10 years of Asylum. Well, sorry, at the beginning of next year, it'll be 10 years of Asylum. And our OG, like real throwback shirt. I actually have our original jersey up here in the background, or the back of it. But I'm talking about the t-shirt that we originally made. We are bringing them back for next year. They will be redone with Anthrax of a much higher quality than the cheap screen printed ones that we got done here in town way back when. And I'll put it out to the public. You'll have the opportunity to get one as well. A bit of a once-off 10-year anniversary run of some Asylum shirts that are very cool. The original design was cool. Chris Dickens, long-time supporter of this show and graphic design legend, absolute expert, and someone I literally was speaking to him today about something unrelated to that shirt. I just about refer to him on almost everything graphic design related. He'll be helping out on these ones, and you'll have the opportunity to get one if you want to rep some Asylum gear. That will be coming up soon. And Alex saying, oh man, I want one of those backpacks. Yeah, I mention it every time they come up here on the show. I've used one of those backpacks for a one-day event rather than taking my gear bag. You can fit so much gear in them, and yeah, just 100% recommend them. Pick one up. If you don't win one, buy one. Worth it. That's everything I've got to mention for tonight, I think. Oh no, sorry, excuse me. Before I wrap up, Super Sevens M's on this field layout. There is one event coming up this weekend, and this is it. The M's guys will be out playing this weekend. There is 7 teams across New South Wales and ACT playing in the M's, and there's actually 8 teams, some of which travelling internationally in semi-pro the following weekend. 12.5 BPS, Mercy 3. This event will be a one-day event this Sunday. So ignore that it says August 5th and 6th. That is my mistake. It is just on Sunday. The semi-pro division will be a 2-day event. Yeah, great to see the turnout really solid for this one. The guys from Canberra coming up, the Reapers, the Young Beamers, and some of those teams like the Wicked Warriors that you would expect are there, and a couple of new teams as well. So I really like to see that, and then it'll be followed up again the next week by a big semi-pro event. And I really like this field layout. I feel like some of the Super Sevens layouts last year weren't really to my flavor, but this one I quite like. I like the center. I like the snake. The Doritos, I could maybe tinker with them a little bit, but I'd only be getting picky. I think it's a really cool layout. Heaps of breakout options, which is always my biggest thing. You've probably got 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 genuine options where you can go off the break. The field layouts I don't like is if it's like really obvious, where you might have 6 potential breakout options. So you've got 5 players and 6 options. It becomes pretty obvious where people are going to go. Yeah, really love that they've got plenty of options for players on the breakout there, whether it's up through the center or snake or Dorito side. So really cool, and best of luck to all the teams playing in the AMS division at Super Sevens. I'm really excited that there is such a good turnout in the lower divisions at the Super Sevens, and hopefully that continues into teams playing in the Pro division in the future. One of the layouts I've liked more this year, totally agree. Brad Short saying trained on it yesterday. It was fun. Great to hear. Yeah, hopefully everyone has a blast this weekend, and we'll talk about it all here on PBHQ next Monday. Until then, have a great week, guys. I'll see you next Monday. Bye.